Hi, welcome back to the next thrilling installment, call them video snippets around here, from the Deadly Affirmations video book. Today we're going to read the second part of chapter 18. And once again, this is the commercial part. I'll post a link to the Amazon.com page where you can purchase a copy of this book if you choose in Kindle format, that's an ebook, or paperback if you like the analog copy. But if you would just rather have me read it to you, I'm happy to do that, as always. Glad you stopped by. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get back to Patience Murphy and her quest for justice. Okay. Patience wore her black leather Clark slip-ons with chunky 2-inch heels, cushioned insoles, and rubber soles. A dark burgundy wool blazer over a gold and white horizontally striped long-sleeve scoop-neck t-shirt, matching stretch slacks to work, and to hold everything else that she might need, she had taken her big black bag, putting her phone, wallet, lunch bag full of an incongruous collection of leftovers. Martha Stewart would have been shocked. A bottle of water, a little pill box, a couple of NSAIDs just in case, a little packet of paper hankies, and her new garrote inside before putting it over her shoulder. She worked for a few hours and looked marvelous doing it, she thought. And when the office began to clear out around noon, she took her purse for a walk to the park across the street from TS. About an hour later, Patience was walking back to the office, minding her own business, when just ahead of her on the sidewalk, a girl walked off the curb and into the path of a city bus. Patience grabbed the girl's arm and pulled her back onto the sidewalk before disaster struck. "What are you doing?" Patience almost yelled in the girl's face. The girl said in a distracted but friendly voice, "I use WhatsApp to post my selfies to FB and then text them to my peeps." No, Patience said, barely keeping herself under control. "I don't care about your phone. You almost walked into a bus." Thanks." The girl said, "Whatever," and walked off again, taking another selfie and posting it. Patience shook her head and walked back to work. After work, Patience stopped by the liquor store on the way home. Alice and Big Buddy had just about done her in last night, and she wanted something fun and new to take the edge off, something that would feel good, but something that wouldn't require commitment. Alice and her Big Buddy were high maintenance, a couple that demanded her complete attention and expected a certain preoccupation with their unique charms. Patience pulled into one of the 3 parking spaces along the curb in front of Arnold Rothstein's Fine Spirits. She put a quarter in the meter and went inside. "Hi, Brain," she said to the proprietor. "What's new?" "Not much, Patty," the old man replied. "You?" Same, she said. "I want to try something new. What do you got?" Arnold thought for a minute, and then the light went on. "Follow me," he told her. He led her to the very back of the little shop and reached up onto the top shelf. He carefully took down an opaque white glass bottle with red and gold label covered in Chinese characters with a red ribbon waxed to the bottle's cap. "What's that?" she asked. "The White Devil," Arnold said. "Baijiu. Chinese sorghum liquor. It'll knock you on your ass. It's 60 proof. People say it's an acquired taste, but it's really just savory and funky and fermented. Umami savory. Goes good with aged cheese, sautéed mushrooms, and Vegemite if you got any." "Okay," Patience said. "I'll give it a try. What else you got?" "Feeling adventurous, are we?" The old man smiled. "Let's see what else." "Got it. Come on." He led her to another wall. "Soju?" he asked her. "Huh?" Patience replied. "Korean rice vodka, the most popular liquor in the world for the past decade or so," Arnold said. "I've never heard of it, Brain. Gimme, please." He led her past the canned goods. "No pulque for you, at least not the canned stuff. It's terrible." He searched some other shelves and then said, "I got it," his face lighting up. "Tej?" "Tej?" "Yeah, Tej, Ethiopian mead. The Daniel family that owns the Ethiopian restaurant over on Horton Street, Gannat, brews their own and sells me a few gallons a year. It comes in a real pretty glass growler that they get somewhere." "Sounds like just the thing, Brain," Patience told him. "Wrap 'em up, please." Mr. Rothstein added up the bill, and as Patience rummaged around in her wallet for some bills, Mr. Rothstein only took cash, and there was never any tax added to the bill. Put each bottle in a brown paper sack, and then put the sacks into a little cardboard box for easy carrying. "Thanks, Patty," he said. "You're my man, Brain," she said, and leaned over the counter to kiss his cheek. Patience took her liquor out to her car, put the box of bottles on the floor of the back seat behind the driver's seat, and drove over to her favorite little coffee shop. She parked and went inside. She had a lovely cappuccino, and when she was leaving, when she opened the door, someone walked smack into the glass door. She hit it so hard the glass in the frame of the door vibrated but didn't crack. "Are you okay?" Patience asked, and then realized that it was the selfie girl again. The girl looked around, letting the cobwebs clear themselves, saw Patience, and said, "Oh, yeah." A minute later, selfie girl recognized Patience from earlier in the day, tilted her head, smiled, and said, "Oh, hi." Patience was at a loss for words for a minute, but then selfie girl said, "See ya," turned away and walked around the door she had just run into and off down the sidewalk. Even though she had been dumbfounded for a minute and initially mistrustful of the conflicting thoughts that were racing through her mind, Patience remembered her guide for the day. And as she remembered her little book's direction, she heard the wise little voice of her power whispering to her. And this time, Patience listened. Patience followed the young woman, hanging back. The girl would never know. She was so wrapped up in her selfieing. But Patience didn't want any witnesses. After a couple of blocks, Selfie Girl had walked into the part of River City that had seen better days. There were shuttered stores, trash in the streets, and abandoned cars here and there. Up ahead, there was a convenient alley behind what had once been Choo Choo's, an adult bar that had been forced to close thanks to the efforts of the River City Women's Union for Decency. As Selfie Girl passed the alley, Patience hurried up next to her, took her elbow, and steered her into the little back lane, once paved with cheap asphalt that was now cracking and crumbling, leaving holes that could easily trip the unwary. Selfie Girl was as unaware as she could be and stumbled, falling forward to her knees, and one hand, the other, still clutched the phone. "Ouch," was the last thing that the girl said. As the girl was falling, Patience reached into her purse and pulled out the D-string garrote. She looped it over the girl's head and pulled the handle tight. The girl finally let go of the phone to reach to her neck to try to loosen the metal string that was cutting into her throat and strangling her. Patience, always willing to help, lifted her left foot and kicked the side of the girl's head with the bottom of her heel. The girl flattened onto the broken asphalt, trash, and a greasy puddle left from a morning shower. Then Patience put her heel on the girl's head and pushed down while pulling up with the handle. As the noose tightened, the girl's eyes bugged out, becoming bloodshot. She opened her mouth to cry out, but with no air to make any sound, her tongue swelled up in her open mouth, and her face turned red. She struggled for 10 seconds or so, gradually losing the strength to fight, and finally lost consciousness shortly after that. Patience pulled hard on the handle and pushed the girl's head with her foot for another 30 seconds. It seemed like forever. The girl's skin tightened and turned gray. All of a sudden, all of her muscles relaxed, and Patience smelled something terrible as the girl's bowels emptied and had to step over a big puddle of the girl's pee. Ew. When she was certain that the girl would take no more selfies, Patience unwrapped the masking tape that held the end of the string secure in its handle, stuck the tape in her pocket, and put the handle away in her purse, leaving the guitar string looped around the dead girl's neck. Patience started to walk away and then remembered Selfie Girl's phone. Patience didn't want a selfie of her to get posted on a post office wall. Then Patience walked to the far end of the alley, turned right, and headed back to the nice part of town. Patience finally got back to her car, got in, turned the key, and began to drive home. On the way, she stopped by a little gourmet grocery, thinking of Mr. Rothstein's suggestion of aged cheese and sautéed mushrooms. She would skip the Vegemite. She remembered that she had some olives in her cupboard that might be nice, too. Patience bought a wedge of Humboldt Fog goat's cheese, a little jar of not-too-hot kimchi, and a little box of button mushrooms. Now for the sautéing. She added garlic, red cooking wine, and teriyaki sauce to her basket. On the way out, Patience was carrying her canvas shopping bag by the handle when a woman pushed past her to get out the door first. It was the woman in the muumuu again who had been pushing and shoving Patience for the last week. For the little voice that whispered to Patience said something about push coming to shove, but Patience was so mad that she didn't hear all of it.